The Girl Who Lived in a Lighthouse. Once upon a time, on the rugged coastline of Maine, where the waves crashed against the rocks and the salty wind whistled through the pine trees, there stood a tall, white lighthouse. It was perched on the very edge of a cliff, its bright beams sweeping over the dark sea every night, guiding ships safely to shore. In that lighthouse lived a young girl named Isla. Isla wasn't like most children. While other kids lived in colourful houses with tidy lawns or in apartments close to bustling city streets, Isla's home was the lighthouse itself. She shared it with her father, who was the lighthouse keeper, and with Luna, her clever black and white cat, who knew every nook and cranny of the old building. The lighthouse was more than just a home. It was a world of its own. Its spiral staircase twisted up and up, all the way to the lantern room at the top, where the great glass lens stood like a giant's eye, shining its bright light across the endless sea. From her bedroom, Isla could hear the constant lull of the waves, the call of distant seagulls, and sometimes on stormy nights, the deep, booming voice of the foghorn. Every morning, Isla would wake up before dawn. She would help her father polish the great lamp and clean the salt from the windows so the light could shine as far as possible. Sometimes she'd watch ships on the horizon, their tiny lights bobbing in the distance. She would wonder where those ships were going and who might be aboard them. Isla's father often told her stories about the sea, tales of brave sailors, mysterious islands, and creatures that lived in the deep. But Isla longed to have an adventure of her own. She wanted to discover something magical, something she could call her own story. One chilly autumn morning, as Isla was exploring the rocky shore below the lighthouse, she stumbled upon something strange washed up among the seaweed and shells. It was a wooden box, battered by the waves and covered in barnacles. Luna, ever curious, sniffed at the box and pawed at its edge. Isla pried it open. Inside was a faded map, drawn in swirling ink, showing the coastline, the lighthouse, and a tiny mysterious island far out to sea. Next to the island was a drawing of a star and a crescent moon. There was also a small silver key on a chain, gleaming in the pale morning light. Isla's eyes grew wide with wonder. Who could have left this map? What secrets did the island hold? She tucked the map and key into her jacket pocket, her heart pounding with excitement. Luna meowed, as if to say, "Let's go!" But reaching the island wouldn't be easy. The waves around the lighthouse were rough and the current strong. Isla ran back to the lighthouse and showed her father the map. Her father smiled and ruffled her hair. "That island is called Star Isle," he told her. "Legend says it appears only to those who truly believe in magic." Isla spent the next few days preparing for her adventure. She packed a small bag with sandwiches, her warmest sweater, a flashlight, her favourite book, and of course, the map and key. Luna insisted on coming too, curling up in the bag whenever Isla tried to leave her behind. On a crisp, clear morning, Isla and her father carried their little rowboat down to the edge of the water. The sea shimmered with the golden light of sunrise. "Be careful, Isla," her father said, hugging her tightly. "And remember, trust your heart." Isla set out, rowing steadily toward the spot marked on the map. Luna sat at the bow, her tail flicking with excitement. The journey was not easy. The waves rocked the boat, and seagulls swooped overhead, calling out as if offering advice. But Isla kept going, her eyes fixed on the horizon. After what felt like hours, a thick mist rolled in, swirling around Isla and Luna, until they could barely see the water. Isla's heart thudded with fear. What if she got lost, or the island wasn't real after all? Just then, Luna let out a soft, encouraging purr. Isla remembered her father's words, "Trust your heart." She closed her eyes and listened. Through the mist, she heard the distant chime of a bell, faint but clear. She turned the boat toward the sound, rowing with determination. Suddenly the mist parted, and there before them was Star Isle, a tiny, lush island crowned with wildflowers and a single, ancient tree that glowed with a silvery light. Isla's boat bumped gently against the shore. She jumped out, with Luna at her heels. They explored the island, following the winding path shown on the map. At the base of the glowing tree, Isla found a small mossy door hidden among the roots. Hanging from the door was a lock shaped like a moon and a star, just like on the map. Isla took out the silver key and turned it in the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a hidden room filled with sparkling treasures. Seashells that sang when you held them to your ear, bottles of shimmering sand, and a tiny music box that played the sound of the sea. But the greatest treasure was a book, a storybook with a cover of blue velvet and silver stars. Isla opened it and gasped. The pages were blank, except for the first sentence. This is the story of Isla, the girl who lived in a lighthouse. Isla realized that the book was meant for her to fill with her own adventures, her own dreams and discoveries. She smiled, her heart brimming with happiness. Luna purred and rubbed against her cheek as if to say, "Well done." Isla spent the rest of the day exploring the island, collecting stories and treasures. When the sun began to set, she rowed back to the lighthouse, the book safe in her bag and Luna curled in her lap. From that day on, Isla knew that magic was real, not just in far-off lands, but in the everyday world, if you looked closely enough and listened to your heart. She filled her book with stories, drawings and dreams, and every night, as the lighthouse beacon swept across the sea, Isla knew that her adventure had only just begun. And so, in the lighthouse by the sea, with the waves singing their lullabies and the stars shining above, Isla and Luna lived happily, always ready for the next adventure that might come their way. For the girl who lived in a lighthouse knew that the greatest stories are the ones you create for yourself, with courage, curiosity, and just a little bit of magic.